everybody. This is Chris and Roger with Entertaining Geeky, your source for nerd news. And guys, we've got some movie stuff to talk about.
It's been a minute since you and I have gotten together and actually gabbed a little bit, hadn't it?
Too long.
So we've got a bunch of stuff coming out in the news world right now. Well, let's talk about X-Men Apocalypse first and how everyone hates women, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, that's a political issue in and of itself, but the fact that that Fox pulls down a movie sign because an antagonist is being an antagonist in it.
And choking a woman out? Is that you okay with that? You're okay with just choking a woman out?
Yeah, let's go there. It depends on the mood.
Well, right. I mean, kinky fun time set aside. The issue I have is, for so long we hear that women are being degraded in comic books and the film media based on comic books to be nothing more but tits and ass. And we finally have a strong female character in Mystique who's played both sides in these 3 movies.
Yeah.
And now that she's come to be an action hero and is treated like an action hero, we get all up in arms.
I don't get all up in arms. I want to see female superheroes doing female superhero things, which is fighting bad guys. Sometimes when you're making that hero sacrifice and fighting bad guys, bad shit happens.
Ask Uncle Ben.
He's gone.
You can't.
He's gone.
Bye, Felicia. I mean, that's the point. You can't have it both ways. Either you have to treat women in comics, especially a violent medium, in a way of you keep them in the corner and you don't let them out to play, or they're going to get their asses kicked occasionally.
And that's okay, though.
I mean, no one complained when Michael Keaton hit Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns.
I mean, she had it coming.
Of course she did. She went in the kitchen making a sandwich. But it's stupid to sit there and say we want to see more and more comic book movies. We want them more like their source material. Where in the past 50, 60 years, women have been punched as much as men have.
Well, that's just like when the Batgirl issue came out, and they did the variant cover with Joker.
Such a beautiful variant cover.
It was my profile picture.
I remember it. That is true.
I loved it. Like it didn't necessarily pertain to the storyline or anything like that. It was a cool cover.
But 3 issues before that, they had Batman strapped to a chair with the Joker's peeled off face resting on top of him. There was no outcry for that. There was no outcry for all the times we've seen Peter Parker's ass shot up in the air like he's going doggy style on a rooftop.
I mean, he's died too.
More than once.
So, I mean, that's a thing.
I think the issue is we need to sit there and support our creators and our writers that are actually treating women as 3-dimensional characters and not just as sex symbols. And unfortunately, that means good stuff's going to happen and bad stuff's going to happen.
Again, you treat them just like you would treat any other character. That's not being sexist or anything like that at that point. That is having a character do what characters do, and that's be a part of the story.
And obviously we're not saying that Frank Miller does it right. I mean, look how many women he has raped every time he does a comic book.
Alan Moore, Frank Miller, I mean, they're the kings of comic book rape.
But sometimes it works.
It's a real thing. It happens.
Like one of the best scenes in Watchmen was the rape of Silk Spectre. And you see how the comedian has turned and how dark this character could be, and yet you still had Silk Spectre standing up strong to him, even after that incident.
Well, yeah. No fucks given. She was a badass, and that was part of that added to the character, quality of the character, and that's what people are taking away from this medium at this point.
I think the issue, is we want to have our cake, we want to eat it too. We want women to be strong and powerful, but we don't want bad things to happen to them, which does take away a little bit of believability there. I think what we really need to realize going forward is treat women like we treat our men. I mean, look at Deadpool. The most sexist, misogynistic character Marvel has ever made, and the movie totally portrayed that. But in a way that you could just look at him and love him. How could you not love Deadpool?
I mean, he's fun. He's a fun character. He's a good character. But it's again, it's not even about that. They're fucking characters, dude. Like they're supposed to be portraying things that people can relate to, and what makes it, this is another discussion entirely, but what makes a hero You know,
We'll save that for Joe.
Yeah. What makes a hero? And it's overcoming adversity. So when you've got these individuals that are kicking ass and then getting their asses kicked and making it through that and pushing, that's awesome. That's uplifting. And that's what you want to see as a reader, because life shits on everybody sometimes, you know?
Well, that, and we as comic book fans and movie fans bitch when our characters aren't true to the page. And then when they become true to the page and we see bad things happen to Mystique or our Batgirl, we go up in arms and say, this is not fair. You shouldn't treat a woman like that. It perpetuates a stereotype.
Yeah, then don't put them in the fucking book.
Exactly.
And then you can complain about that.
Or don't put them in the movie. And then we'll complain about that. Why isn't Mystique or a strong female character in the movies?
Well, and part of the problem, though, is artists don't support their own work anymore. Like, they'll do something, and then people will get upset, and they'll backpedal. And I'm sorry, that's not the point of being an artist. Like, if you're a writer, if you're a painter, whatever your medium is, whatever you're doing, you don't backpedal. Like, it's self-expression. You're being creative, and it's beautiful because of that. Like, that's what makes it good.
And no one bitched when Kylo Ren was bitch slapping what's her name in Episode 7 around the forest.
Right.
I mean, he could have stabbed her, and we would have been okay with it.
Holding his guts in.
Yeah. Like, because he's actually a man.
Force holding his guts in.
Did I tell you what I realized the other day?
Huh.
You know, everyone's up in arms about Kylo Ren being a whiny little bitch. It just proves he's a Skywalker.
He got shot with the Chewbacca blaster that was throwing motherfuckers across the room.
Yeah, he's still a whiny bitch.
You know his entrails should have been falling out. And he's just like, I'm going to punch myself in the stomach repeatedly and use the Force to hold my guts in. I'm going to slap this chick around and this retard stormtrooper. And that's going to be that.
Yeah. And we were okay with this.
It was great.
We were okay with violence against women at that point. But for some reason, seeing Mystique being choked by Apocalypse, we have to get up in arms and cry like little bitches.
I loved the billboard.
I did too. I thought it was an amazing billboard. It showed how deep Apocalypse could be.
Sinister Apocalypse is. He's sinister. He's bad. He's evil. He does bad things.
Yeah.
He doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if she would have been man, woman, child. He'd have choked the shit out of him. Because she was in the way.
His name is Apocalypse. I mean, that alone tells you what he's about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we as comic book fans need to stand together and rally around the fact that we want our women to be treated like normal characters and not be special. Because that's the only way we get true equality.
And on to Civil War.
Okay, I haven't seen Civil War, so I'm going to sit back and let Chris talk about that.
You're so far behind, man. Okay, imagery in the movie is fabulous. There are a few pages straight out of the comic, and they've done that with all the Captain America films. They will take a panel out of a book and make sure that that's in the movie. And at the end of this movie, there's a spoiler alert: Captain America and Iron Man fight.
Really?
It's like the end all be all battle at the end of the story.
Like that was a whole trailer.
Oh yeah. But Captain America and Iron Man are fucking each other up, and then Iron Man gets the upper hand, and all of a sudden Captain America's like, fuck this, it's on. But he was a lot nicer than that. He's like, you're going down to Chinatown, Tony. And he starts smashing Tony Stark's face in, breaks his helmet off. There is this single beautiful moment where you see Robert Downey Jr. capture the terror that was on the page of the comic book where Captain America's beating the hell out of Iron Man. And it was fucking magic. It was perfect. And that happened several times in the movie. And the movie was fun. Like, I got to see Spidey with the people that I wanted to see him with. He was good. He was portrayed well. Very young. It was a fresh perspective, and it was fun. Giant Man, in my opinion, stole the show.
Giant Man was in it?
Giant Man shows up. He's only done this once in a lab, and he passed out. Okay. So, Paul Rudd kills it in the movie. And nobody should expect anything less from the guy. But, yeah, Giant Man comes in, steals the show, starts fucking bitch slapping people while he's 6,000 feet tall. That's a gross exaggeration. And it's just magical. Like, seeing him smack Spider-Man, and then, Spider-Man, hey, remember that really old movie where the ships go around the walking things. Star Wars reference in it.
Yeah.
Peter Parker's a dumb kid though, so he doesn't know that, it's Star Wars. And it was awesome. The movie was magical, and it kind of takes you to it takes you to a special place, man. It was good.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen the movie or read the comic, turn about 5 minutes past because we're going to ramble for a minute.
Yeah.
All right. Does the movie end with a gut shot? Because it needs to.
No.
So there's no death of Captain America?
No.
What's the point?
They can't kill the character off.
Why not? You kill the character off, you have Falcon take over for a little bit. I mean, it's what happens.
Have Bucky take over.
Or Bucky, fine. I don't care who takes over. The whole point of Civil War was Captain America got shot at the end.
Yeah, but that's the part that we ignore. Like, that was a stupid ending to the comic.
But it was the most impactful ending of the entire thing, other than the X-Men, which obviously they can't put in the movie.
Yeah. No, it was... They're two different things, and you can tell they borrowed bits and pieces from the comic, and not many. Like, they're not going to make Iron Man a bad guy in these movies. They don't have the heart to do it. He does some things that are borderline bad guy, like he kidnaps Scarlet Witch, and is holding her against his will, against her will, and you're just like, oh, that's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as him kidnapping motherfuckers in the comic.
No. With Reed Richards helping.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a very different thing. Like, Iron Man was a clear antagonist in the comic. In the movie, they weren't really willing to take that plunge. Understandably so. Like, you've got the number one top paid actor in Hollywood, and they don't want to make him a bad guy.
Do you think they were just afraid to actually go for it?
No. I mean, that movie was going for it. It was Avengers 2.5.
But there was no gut shot.
It was fun.
I mean,
you don't need it. Like, it's not a comic book. It's a movie.
And
that's for everybody. It's not for nerds.
But it just seems like
for everybody.
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but to me, what Civil War represented was how far Captain America was willing to go, and the fact that he turned himself in at the end of Civil War, and walking down the courthouse steps, getting gut shot, dying for his principles, was truly what America was all about at that time.
Captain America shows how far he's willing to go in this movie, though, as he,
Example?
Okay.
Everyone that's listening has seen it.
He breaks into the super maximum security prison where they're holding all the other Avengers and breaks them out.
Okay.
He's doing just illegal shit that Captain America doesn't do. And it was, you see the character evolving. It's good. He's willing to do things that are risque for what he believes, and it's, I don't know, it's good. Like, he doesn't get shot in it, and that's okay.
Okay, how does it end then?
With a nice letter sent to Iron Man.
No, it doesn't.
And a cell phone.
No.
You can reach me when you need me, buddy.
Seriously?
Yes.
Like, so you go through 2.5, 3 hours of just Mortal Kombat, and Captain America just goes, we're cool?
I think it's 2 hours and 27 minutes, and basically, because he is the man that he is, it's like, hey, whenever you need me, buddy, I'm here.
Well, did they resolve the whole registering and all of that? No?
No.
So...
Okay, so... The main antagonist he was bullshit. Horribly done.
Crossbones or whatever?
No, that wasn't it.
Who was the main antagonist?
Some douchebag. I think they were going for a different character. And I'm not gonna name drop there, but
okay.
No, they wanted to use a character from the comics. They didn't want to put him in a silly purple suit.
You mean Galactus?
No, not Galactus. Get out of here.
Okay. Go ahead. No. I mean, like I said.
So I mean, basically, this guy, some random dude whose family gets smashed when all the Ultron shit's going on.
Oh, I got
He manages to get all this shit on the fucking Avengers And he's like, I'm tearing them apart from the inside now. Hee hee hee. And he begins tearing them apart from the inside. And Bucky is is what he uses to do that, or who he uses to do that.
And it works?
Yeah. And that's why I'm like, the villain sucked.
Okay, so the villain sucks.
The villain sucks.
They don't resolve the government initiative to make superheroes register with their names and what have
like
you.
some other people might feel different on that. Did they resolve it thing? No, they did not. It ends on a note like, hey, fuck this registration stuff, and it's not really registration. It's they.
Oh, I'm all ears.
They tiptoe around that, okay? Because in the comic, it was registering.
Yeah.
And it was a term that we had heard for years in X-Men.
Right. And when they actually went to the X-Men and said, you need to have a side on this. And Professor Xavier went, we've made our side clear.
Yeah.
We don't believe in this, and we're not part of this because we're mutants. We're not choosing this life.
It's bad. And that's, you get, they don't really use the R word in it. And it I was like, dang, come on, like that. I wanted to hear him say registration at least 70 times in this movie.
So now my idea is just Captain America is kind of a whiny bitch.
There's a the government, like not the government, but there's a they draw up the governments, okay, not just one. It's like United Nations kind of thing.
Oh, now I'm on Cap's side.
Okay, they draw up this bullshit article that basically, if you're a superhero, you have to do it. You got to be where the government says you need to be. You're summoned by the government, you don't go out on your own free will and do it. So basically, they'd be taking the most powerful weapon in the world, which is these superhumans, and using them for their bidding.
So they're the A-Team.
Yeah, I mean that's what they're trying to get. And
but the Avengers kind of already do this.
Ish.
I mean,
they act on their own. Their own.
Do they though? I mean, the individual superheroes do, but in the movies. Avengers 2, it started out with them being S.H.I.E.L.D.'s bitch.
Yeah.
Running around.
And then you have the whole... Well, no, not Avengers 2. That's Age of Ultron.
Yeah, no. It started out with them being S.H.I.E.L.D.'s bitch, cleaning up Hydra's mess from Avengers 1.
They were cleaning up Hydra's mess, but S.H.I.E.L.D. was gone.
Okay, you're right. It wasn't S.H.I.E.L.D.
So,
it was still the government going, hey, there's a Hydra base over there. Why don't you guys go take care of it?
I think they discovered that on their own. I think that was through Tony's intel.
No. It was totally government.
We're going to have to consult the archives.
Yes, we will.
But, yeah, I mean, no, you see the Avengers operating as the Avengers, and that's being taken away, and Tony's for it because people have been hurt, and he's seen that. And,
just give the man some whiskey.
Yeah.
When are we going to get that storyline from Tony Stark?
I mean, they briefly show that he's a partier in Iron Man 1.
There's a difference between being a partier and being an alcoholic.
No, I agree.
I mean, the Demon in the Bottle storyline needs to be on film.
It would be nice, but that might hit too close to home for RDJ.
I think that's the reason RDJ took the role.
Do you?
I honestly think it would be amazing to see a former alcoholic who's playing an alcoholic, but he's only playing the fun, happy times of being an alcoholic.
I think RDJ... I guess it wouldn't hit too close to home because in Sherlock Holmes, he's a druggie.
Yeah. I think it's an amazing storyline, and it adds so much depth to the character.
Well, I mean, maybe we'll see that as Iron Man 4.
I don't know.
Probably not, because he's not a drinker now.
No, he's not. We kind of glossed... Like, once Pepper put her little happiness on him, he stopped drinking.
They're broken up.
What?
They're broken up. It's over.
Why?
It's one of those things that they just kind of...
Gloss over?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just... There was this thing, it happened.
Tony cheat on her?
No. They're not a thing anymore.
Now I need a moment of silence for the death of that relationship.
Like, because of everything that was going on in the movie, I get that they can't go super in depth with all that. Like, it was like a 2 hour and 27 minute long movie or something. So, they didn't hit on all the points that they could have. And there are certain areas where it makes you feel lacking, or it makes you feel like something was lacking. But then there's other points, like you get to see all of our favorite superheroes fighting each other.
Which is awesome. But, again...
Except for the X-Men.
Without the substance behind it, it seems like, honestly, from what you're telling me, there's very little substance. It was all about how do we get these guys to fight.
Oh, and that's what it was. Like, very much so, that's what it was. Joss Whedon created the lines of division with Age of Ultron because you see the tension between Stark and Rogers building at that point. So the seed was planted, and it's because somebody at Disney was like, hey, we want to call the movie Civil War.
Well, and we've been leading up to it now for 3-4 movies?
For a while. A good while.
I mean, and the fact that they didn't make this as an Avengers sequel and went straight for Captain America.
I was cool with it being a Cap film.
No, I was too. I think the Captain America movies, honestly, have been the best movies of that little subject right there.
The one that doesn't get enough credit is the first one, dude.
No, it's really good.
It's very good.
And it sets up everything.
It really does. But, like, okay, the Thor movies, people aren't always crazy about those. I've enjoyed them. They're not bad flicks.
They're action movies.
The Captain America movies are amazing. First Avenger is so good. You get the portion of it that's a timepiece. You get this man thrown into a world that he can't possibly understand because he's been detached from everything for 70 years. It was good, and at the end of it, it's like, what the fuck is he gonna do?
Well, and then you had Winter Soldier, which to me...
Spy movie.
Is the perfect comic book movie. It showed exactly what we can do with these characters if we put our mind to it.
Well, and it didn't seem like a comic book movie.
It didn't. And it was an original story, which was amazing. And maybe if they actually did that instead of the lead up of calling this thing Civil War and just spinning on the source material, which is where we get in trouble in comic book movies...
But, like, none of these movies 100% stay true to the comic. Like, it's the cinematic universe. It's different in its own right, and that's okay.
I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with, though, is it like let's look at Infinity War, which is what we've been heading to for 20 years, it seems like. And we're never going to get there. And when we do, it's just going to be this big, giant letdown because it's not going to be like the comic.
If they continue to get character rights like they are...
Well,
the Fantastic Four movie bombed.
It horribly.
So, I mean, there's no reason why Fox needs to hold on to those characters anymore.
Other than Fox is pretty much giving the big finger to Disney a lot because of Star Wars and what have you.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not up to them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is when they have the rights to the movie.
Fuck them.
So, what we're really talking about here is the fact that I don't really know where we can go with comic book movies. But we need to have more original storylines instead of less. I think that the idea of adapting these movies from live action, from animation, is really kind of overwhelming. And what really needs to happen, like with Winter Soldier, is seeing more original content and not so much of adaptation. DC does a really good job adapting their movies and their storylines. And everything else, and maybe it is time for Marvel to realize that, go to the animation route, and quit coming up and renaming their stories stupid things. Civil War was not Civil War. Civil War was, let's have these two guys fight.
I mean, they created the lines of division in the team. There was a family dispute, as they like to call it. So I was cool with it. It was good. I love the movie. And mostly because I got to see Spider-Man be an Avenger. I got to see Giant Man. I still have a hard-on from Giant Man being a badass.
I will agree that...
Joe showed up!
Yeah, that happens. I will agree that we, out of that movie, we did get a better Spider-Man in 20 minutes than we did in 5 films. And I enjoyed the movie, but, I mean, in the end, like, you're never going to be able to adapt what we get from the comics into a feature film anyways.
No, and
it's never going to happen.
We all agree on that point. My contention is maybe instead of trying to adapt them, is just come up with original content and actually make it good, like Winter Soldier.
Instead of just pulling off whatever they can based on the comic. I can live with that idea.
And actually let the cinematic universe evolve into its own thing. Because we as comic book fans, we don't care about the storylines we've already read. We're just happy to see these characters represented well on the screen finally.
I would absolutely be behind movies with original content.
So for those of you who don't know, Joe is this awesome dude who's got...
Now they're lying.
Just a little. But he actually works at our friendly local comic book store, and we actually...
The Fantasy Shop.
We haven't said that name today.
No, we haven't. Joe is awesome. he was a regular customer when Roger and I were working there, and they were lucky enough to get to bring him on when
we said deuces.
Yeah, when we threw up the piece.
I don't know if I'd say lucky.
Oh, you love it.
You can ask my coworkers how they feel about working with me.
One of the crowning greatest moments of Joe's life was being hired on at the fantasy shop, and it's
absolutely
that's the place where dreams come true. Like, it's imagination incarnate. And I said that in my interview there because the place is just awesome. I love it. Games, books, nerd, good.
So
yeah, it's local Disneyland for me.
Not local. It's not just Disneyland. It's everything.
That's fair.
It's like biscuits and gravy meets a T-bone steak with Mickey Mouse.
I'm hungry.
So that is our quick little pitch on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But real quickly before we end this up, I want to talk to you about Rogue One and what have you about the Disney debacle that's happening.
Shoot.
Okay, so I guess you didn't hear this. So Disney screened Rogue One, and the reaction was horrible. So much so that executives have stepped up and said, it is time for mass reshoots.
I didn't hear that it was horrible so much as it just wasn't as good as expected. It wasn't what was expected, and they ordered a bunch of reshoots.
Which,
I'm not personally overly worried about that. Largely because, I mean, like, alright, I hate to bring up the Marvel Universe again, but, like, look at Iron Man. Iron Man was made by reshoots. If they hadn't have done reshoots, that would have been a terrible film. It would have been a terrible film.
But
the
thing is,
with Rogue One, like, they were, from what I understand, like, they were worried about this or that scene being a little darker or more violent and not too Star Wars-y in feel, which, like, I personally would argue against changing because my understanding of this was it's a military movie set in the Star Wars universe.
And that's what I took it was Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
It's Black Hawk Down in the Star Wars universe.
Black Hawk Down, it's Saving Private Ryan.
I want a
Thin Red Line.
I want a Dark War movie.
Right.
We saw the entire galactic war in 3 movies, and it was ended by a bunch of fucking teddy bears stepping up with sticks and stones and beating stormtroopers. The idea of seeing rebel troopers actually sacrificing the pains of war would make it so and that's what I want to see. I don't want to see happy Star Wars on Rogue One.
Well, I mean, I understand why they would try to rewrite that kind of thing because like the Star Wars movies have never had that kind of grit as of yet, and they've been very successful without it. And they're definitely banking not only on catching us who grew up on the old films, but a new audience as well. So, I mean, making it darker to where, like, kids might not enjoy it. You're, like, killing your future fan base.
Are you? Because, in my mind, the kids are still going to go see Episode 7, 8,
I mean, most
9.
likely, yeah.
And the idea of actually making a dark Star Wars movie and not honestly bitching out when you see the final product and going forward and saying, this is what we want, this is what we expect. It seems really awesome and amazing. And the idea is we got a dark Batman movie. Right. We got a dark Batman trilogy, honestly. Right. Kids, you didn't see kids shy away from Batman. No. They still had the TV shows. They still had all of that going for them.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you. I would love to have that darker Star Wars film. I understand where they're coming from with the idea of changing. Like, I get why, and I'm not hating them for it. Because they're trying to stick to this formula that has sold very well for them so far. But like, and I can't be mad at that. Like, in the end, like, the execs are just looking to make money off of it. That's all they want. They want their return to be good investment.
But you know what? I hate to say this.
I understand that. I might not agree with it. I might still want the darker movie. I want you to take the risk once in a while. I want you to show me something new. But if you're trying to show me at least something you're pretty sure I'm going to enjoy over taking a risk, I can't be too mad at that decision.
I can, and it's because of this. It's the name Star Wars. You're going to make a bajillion dollars no matter what you put out. The prequels have shown this. And the fact is that we went back even after Episode 2 and was like, hey, Episode 3 wasn't so bad. It was still bad. Yeah. And it still made a gazillion dollars.
That's true.
And then Episode 7? Yeah, Episode 7 comes out, and we're all like, hey, let's hope it's better than the prequels. We get a fucking redo of Episode 4, and we're all goo-goo gaga over it.
That's true.
So these movies are going to make money no matter what. So take the risk while you can, while we still have an appetite for these movies.
That's fair.
and let it go. And you can have your happy-go-lucky family
I personally
saga.
think their big risk with it right now is the idea of making the young Han Solo film.
Yeah.
That, in my opinion, is the risk. Because that's way too easy to mess up and alienate your entire fan base.
I don't think it will. I think right there, the young Han Solo movies will appeal more towards that younger audience that doesn't really care that Harrison Ford was Han Solo.
Right, but you run the risk of alienating every single person.
The 40-year-old virgins who sit at home and bitch about Jar Jar Binks' left ear being too small. That's who you alienate.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Which is like 1 out of every 100 of us nerds.
That's fair.
I mean, we're all going to go see the young Han Solo movie. We're going to gripe because the guy either is going to be too much like Harrison Ford or not enough.
The problem will... the telling in whether it's successful or not will be like the third and fourth weekend.
Exactly.
Like the first and second one will do just fine, I'm sure.
So really, Disney, one day you're going to hear this, and you'll think back on the fact that a grittier, dark Rogue One movie is what we really, truly wanted. And that's the real reason why George Lucas pulled your licensing deal and said no more Mickey Mouse, Darth Vader things. Did you hear about that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
I don't know if it's important that Lucas is throwing a big tissy, or if it's just kind of a nana boo-boo.
I think he just needs to go back and count his $4.2 billion and shut the fuck up.
I agree.
He sold it. It is now their property. Yeah, they're going to do goofy shit with it once in a while. But you know what? If I occasionally have to see a breakdancing Darth Vader at Star Wars Day in Disney World, I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either. It's for the kids.
Yeah, like that specifically is for the kids.
Well,
I don't need him in that moment to be the big scary bad guy.
Well, and I think that his reasoning behind it is the most asinine reasoning. I think we can all really finally be able to tell the truth that George Lucas did not write 9 movies when he sat down and wrote A New Hope.
No.
And
he came up with a cool concept that was taken by better writers and people with a bigger imagination who rewrote it and turned it into something good.
Yeah, because A New Hope was bad.
A New Hope was okay.
It was,
like, I'm not saying it was great by any means, but like it pales in comparison to Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Well, Empire is the movie. I mean, of the original trilogy, you got one good movie.
I'm gonna argue that point.
Go ahead, argue it. There's this thing here. It's called a mic, and I'm going to tell you you're wrong.
That's fair. No, Star Wars fans of the world will never-endingly give me crap about this, but I have always preferred Jedi over Empire.
The teddy bears?
Not because of the teddy bears. I will agree with you, like the whole Ewok thing, taking down a sophisticated army. Kind of out there. You're pandering towards children with fucking teddy bears.
So what did it? What makes Jedi better than Empire?
What makes Empire really good for a lot of people is the whole emotional story and build up between Luke and Vader, and then the big reveal of it being his father. Right?
Okay.
Right?
That's not my thing, but we'll go with that.
Well, that's usually the argument I hear. Right? And that's not even agreeing with the whole it's a down note thing from Dante. The thing that made Jedi better for me was like how much farther it even went with that story, where you got like the reveal of Leia being his sister as well, and realizing there's a bigger legacy here than just it happens to be his kid. And then you had the culmination of that, and you had Luke losing it and dipping into the dark side for a moment.
Oh, he went dark.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, our shining knight from the movies went dark side. And that was scary, because you didn't know if he was going to come out of it at first. And then you saw Vader's redemption arc, which, I mean, in the end, like, when you account for, like, all 6 movies and what Lucas said he was trying to do, like, Vader is kind of the main character.
Vader is, yes.
Like, for sure. So seeing seeing how far he went, seeing that, and getting that clear message, especially as a kid, that, like, even when you do bad things, like, you can always come back. Getting to know that redemption is always possible was a big thing for me as a kid. And seeing the culmination of that arc, and the fact that, like, in this moment, because he cared more about his son than power and holding over the entire galaxy, like, that was really, really powerfully emotional for me.
But, and
has always resonated with me more so than Empire ever did.
But you got that in Empire. You got that he cares about his son more than power and empire when he says, "You and I, father and son, can team up and rule the galaxy."
See, I don't think that automatically implies it though, because
he was betraying the emperor at that moment.
Yeah, but we've already seen from countless movies before.
The one before.
No, other movies in plenty of other places at plenty of other times. Whatever. Like that. Whenever you have a situation where there's, the power and then the dark power's right-hand man, like, the right-hand man is always looking to take that power's place.
He is.
So, like, the idea of, like, Vader being like, hey, we'll overthrow and I'll let you... Like, that's just like, hey, I'm gonna tempt you right now so I can get what I want.
See,
there is no specific in that moment, in my opinion, that, like, it's because it's his kid.
No, but I feel that it was. Like, that's what I took away. It was saying... Because, first off, we don't know how, in the movies, we never found out how Vader knew Luke was his son. We never did find that out.
I had the Force.
Yeah. That's really it.
In the movies, no, but we do now.
Now we do.
Now, because of the actually surprisingly good, and unfortunately short now, Darth Vader comic line that Marvel put out, we got a really good story and a really good reason and knowledge of why and how.
But we didn't know that at the time. So we just took a leap of faith that what Vader was saying was true.
That's fair.
So Vader turns to the son that he just tried to kill. Mm-hmm. There was no... This was father going, I am killing you because I've been told to and I have to. To sit there at the most vulnerable, he destroys this person by saying you were lied to by everyone. By the creepy old guy you only met for 45 minutes before he died and somehow you based your whole life on him. I'm going to tell you I'm your father.
It's more like 6 hours based on how long they're in light speed.
You don't know how long light speed lasts. The Kessel Run is 4.2 parsecs, which we don't even know how long that is.
That's not even the right measurement.
That's what Han Solo says, and that's what we go with. George Lucas, everybody.
George Lucas.
So he tells his son that I'm going to take over the galaxy, and I want you. I want you to be me.
I mean, okay, from a parent's perspective here, you can spank your kid and then be like, hey, I love you so much. Let's cuddle and eat ice cream.
So I think you saw goodness in Vader in that moment.
You see a bunch of goodness in Vader in those movies.
I'm not disagreeing with your assessment. I think at this point we're gonna have to agree to disagree based on you saw it a different way than I did.
But here's why I hate Return of the Jedi.
As a good moment for Tell me why you hate Return of the Jedi that doesn't involve Ewoks.
I can.
All right.
The Leia story arc.
Okay.
Honestly, the whole Leia being Luke's sister, it felt like they shoehorned it in. And if Vader somehow magically knows about Luke, he should have magically knew about Leia as well.
I can explain that.
Without using the comic books. We're just going with strictly the movies here.
The fucking dark side of the Force, dude.
Should have found out. And the only reason he found out about Leia was he's sitting there going, oh, you're afraid, Luke. Why are you afraid? Oh, your sister that has been hidden for fucking 2 movies now. And the dying Yoda was like, oh, look, yeah, that's your sister. Yeah, it was so shoehorned in. And it seemed like the only reason they did it was so you could actually not have the Team Jacob, Team Edward bullshit that was going on in the Star Wars universe between Luke and Leia hooking up or Han and Leia hooking up. Which honestly was done in Empire when Han Solo looked at her right in the eyes and said, I know.
That's a fair assessment.
And the Death Star 2? Don't even get me started on that.
I'm done with Death Stars.
Yeah,
and Death Planets.
Everything.
Any sphere with a weapon of mass destruction mounted on it.
How did the Rebel Alliance not know that there was a second Death Star being constructed?
That was bigger!
At the moon with the teddy bears.
I like the teddy bear moon.
The best thing about Return of the Jedi, it really was the best lightsaber fight. And honestly, I want to say I think it was better than
I will agree with
Phantom Menace.
I will agree with you. You shut the fuck up. No, I will agree with Roger 100%. It is the all right. First off, the lightsaber fights with Luke are better in so much as they're not overly flashy. Yes, I understand like Jedi Masters in the prequels would be more flashy because they're masters of the craft. But that's just boring because at that point every lightsaber fight you're just trying to top the one you did before. With the ones the one in Empire and then followed by the one in Jedi, you actually saw like someone who visibly did not know what they were doing with this damn thing become better and better at using it. Like, you watched him go from being like, oh, hey, what's this pointy thing, to actually knowing what the fuck he's doing and riposting, and his footwork was really good.
And not only that,
shit.
Okay, we talk about Phantom Menace.
Technical sword terms.
We talk about Phantom Menace being the end-all be-all of lightsaber fights, because Darth Maul had a dual-bladed lightsaber, and he was flipping and spinning.
It wasn't even that. Okay, so
I wouldn't say that's the end-all.
Phantom Menace.
I enjoyed the
you had
lightsaber fight in 7 way more than that one.
You had a refined lightsaber fighting. Like, okay, movie magic has come a long way since, way back when. Yeah, way back when we were doing these original Star Wars movies. Into the 80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was still just kind of guys poking sticks at each other.
Right.
And it aesthetically, it wasn't that pleasing. So, Phantom Menace, there was still an organic level to the lightsaber fights. Like, it wasn't just all twirling, flashy bullshit like you saw in Episode 3.
That's fair.
Where you've got Obi-Wan and Anakin twisting their lightsaber behind their back at the same time while looking at each other. It's like, come on, man.
No one would do that in a real fight.
No, like, I could do without the flowery shit, and I get that the Force is flowing through you and you're feeling good.
I will agree the fight in Phantom Menace was the best of the prequels because it was the most organic and the most realistic.
But it didn't feel like a fight. Like, it felt pretty. It felt like I was watching a kung fu movie.
There wasn't any emotion in the fight, and that's the problem.
But there wouldn't be. Like, you've got
there should be, though.
No,
absolutely.
You've got two Jedi that are basically taught to be devoid of emotion, and then a Sith.
But Qui-Gon Jinn is not devoid of emotion.
One Jedi who's not allowed to be on the Master Council because of emotion, followed by his apprentice at the time, Padawan, who definitely would be still struggling with emotion, fighting a Zabrak warrior who definitely practices a very aggressive style lightsaber fighting. So there should have been nothing but aggression and emotion in that fight.
You can see the malice in Darth Maul because he's always gritting his teeth, looking at these assholes.
No, hold on. You can see in the close-ups, but if you look at the fight, just the fight itself, it's just them twirling around.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Don't get me wrong. Ray Park is an amazing stuntman and does his job very well.
The blades on these lightsabers don't weigh anything.
You're right, but you know what?
So you're gonna have this light kind of waving, touching, poking, because it's anything to get this hot thing to touch your flesh.
But then how do you argue against that with like how powerful and emotional they were in Empire and Jedi?
When he's beating him down, when Luke is beating Vader down,
I feel like that was almost a misuse of the tool that they were using. Like, if I'm hitting at you with the lightsaber, it really is going to take very, very little for me to be waving this thing at you. Now, if you're blocking and I'm trying to get it to, like, come down on you, like, get your blade to come down on you, that's different. And then you've got a father fighting a son. That's totally different than these fucking strangers that are fighting this red and black dude with horns.
But there's no feeling. Like when Luke fights Vader.
Like, it's his fucking dad.
But he doesn't want. You see the anger in him. You see him going for blood.
It's his fucking dad.
Where you see Vader going after Luke and Empire.
You've got the daddy issue poster child fighting the shit father of the year, and that's that. I mean, fuck, dude. Yeah, anybody'd be mad. Like, you're gonna have more emotion than that than if I go meet some stranger and I'm like, wow, he's a bad guy. Better fucking kill him.
All right, let's look at this. The fight between Obi-Wan and General Grievous in Episode 2.
So much fun.
Oh, no, hold on. God.
Yes.
The lightsaber fights in the fucking cartoon were way better.
They're fun.
Just better.
Oh, you mean that thing that they threw out so they could redo it animated? Or
CGI? Yeah.
On the... Yeah.
For those
Fuck
out
you,
there,
Netflix.
Yeah, for you out there in the internet world, there was a Clone Wars cartoon that was animated, and it was amazing.
Very good. It looked like Samurai Jack.
By Jenny Tarkovsky, the same guy who did Samurai Jack.
And when it aired,
so well done.
It was. The storyline was awesome in it.
And it led up to Episode 3.
Hand.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I get
it
goosebumps
was so good.
That.
George Lucas was like, "Yep, nope, that's how the Clone Wars went," and he started movie 3 with the scene he did because that's exactly where the cartoon left off.
And if you look at Episode 3 and the reaction shots, we say Episode 3 is the best of the sequels. It's because of the funny things like prequels, whatever. They're sequels. They're stupid. It's like the scenes of when the lightsaber goes through, decapitates the one robot, and the other BattleBot looks over at it and goes, "Huh." Like, that stuff that George Lucas didn't do in the first 2 movies that the cartoon really helped with.
Yeah. I have to say Episode 3 is probably still, it's that or fucking Return of the Jedi are probably my favorites.
Which we've already discussed why Return of the Jedi is horrible.
I know.
Return of the Jedi is amazing.
I love it. I love it.
Stupid
Roger,
bears.
you can hate it. Joe loves it.
I really just, honestly, let's be honest, I really just hate Star Wars.
I wish they had left in the scene of Luke building his lightsaber.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
That would have been magical.
Oh, no, real quickly, going back to Empire real
Yeah.
quick. The reason why Empire is so good, it's not because it ends on a downer. It's because the Rebellion gained nothing. Much like Star Trek and Wrath of Khan, where the Federation gained nothing.
Right.
The Rebellion in this movie gains nothing. They lose a great fighter. Mm-hmm. Luke's confidence is shattered.
Right.
Leia is barely holding on to what used to be. And the idea of where do they go from here? That's what makes Empire so good, is you know these characters aren't done. They're gonna rise up and they're gonna continue the fight. It's just how. At the end of the movie, you're left with that wondering how.
So that big build up and drop of despair before the ultimate climax.
So that's
right.
Roger needs his testicles twisted.
No, that's fair. Like, I will agree. Like, that is a super important story. I just feel that the climax is more important.
See, and I felt that Return of the Jedi lit me down.
It let you down. On the climax?
Yeah, the climax. And I remember when I was a kid watching Return of the Jedi, and I felt lit down at the climax that the characters didn't seem to really pick.
What kind of kid were you?
A very, very angry one.
Because,
very
dude,
bald one.
I could never, ever watch a Star Wars movie as a kid and feel let down just because there were fucking lightsabers in the Force.
Truth be told, guys, I really didn't see Star Wars until I was like 12 or 13.
Get out.
So I really had, grown by the time I saw them.
Get out.
He's like a full-blown adult watching these movies.
Yeah.
And
he had his first beard already.
He was fucking drinking beer with his dad watching it.
Yeah.
Still out of a sippy cup.
No,
of course
Can't spill on the carpet.
No, you jazzed me for that.
Beat him with a newspaper.
Put out a cigarette on his arm.
So really, what have we accomplished today, Chris?
Nothing.
And that's pretty much how our podcasts are going to go. This is our first one, and we hope to have it out here in a couple weeks. But really, it's going to be us talking about subjects, going on rants, and not really having a strict schedule here.
And Joe showing up was a bonus. I called him last minute, and he...
Yeah, you should have called me like an hour ago.
Yeah,
I was here before you started.
I didn't even think of it.
Asshole.
But no, we're super stoked to have Joe. Joe is also going to be Joe's actually going to be leading our next episode, which is going to be primarily comic-based, just because Roger and I are not in the know like we should be. So we brought in somebody that is.
I do have to read everything.
Well,
it's kind of my job.
I mean, we'll touch on some of the classics, some of the oldies but goodies. But I do, we got to be current, and we want to give the reader or the listeners the readers.
That's fine. I've got plenty of reasons everybody should be reading every DC book.
So what we're saying is, make sure you tune in for next week's episode. Or the next episode, because our plan is to drop a couple of these at once.
Yeah.
Also, before we drop off, best wishes, thoughts, and prayers to the family and friends of Anton Yelchin, who died today.
Absolutely.
Well,
Salute.
And that is how our podcast is going to go. We're not going to, as we go on, obviously, we're going to hit and miss and figure this whole thing out. But right now, it's going to be 3 guys sitting in a room talking for 45 minutes to an hour about bullshit and nerd things. And we hope you enjoy it. Please put feedback in the comment sections below. Let us know what you enjoy, what you don't like.
Reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, email. You can reach us at entertainthegeeky@gmail.com. And you can also find us on Facebook. We want your feedback. We want to know what you guys want to hear. This is important to us. We love what we're doing. So thank you, guys.
And honestly, we wouldn't be here without you. So please listen, let us know what you want, and by all means, give us ideas. Because we're not the most creative people, but we can ramble like idiots. So with that being said, I'm Roger Moss.
I'm Chris Parsons.
And I'm Joe Moore.
Thank you for tuning in.